Hi, everyone, and welcome to the For the Stars Astrology podcast, formerly known as the Traditional Astrology Podcast. I have undergone a bit of a rebranding venture in hopes to not feel so tethered and bound to this blah title of the Traditional Astrology Podcast because I'm hoping to go over, everything that has to do with traditional astrology, but also things that extend beyond it and into today's sphere. Um, and yeah, so welcome. Thank you for joining in on this. I just thought I would take this as an opportunity to sort of make a video, introduce myself, and give some give some ideas as to what I've been working on and thinking about lately. So, and I am reading notes off of my laptop. So if I look like I'm like side-eyeing you, I'm not used to this yet. I hope to become so, but please bear with me. So, hi everyone. I'm Samantha Hammer. I'm a traditional astrologer, and I wanted to make this first video to simply explain sort of why this channel exists. Over the last several years, I've become increasingly fascinated by a particular idea, this idea that everything seems to eventually come back to the planets. I started studying astrology in 2017, and around that same period, I was also working professionally with gemstones. For years, these two interests grew side by side in my life. Day by day, I was photographing gemstones, writing about them, helping people understand them. And at the same time, spending countless hours studying astrology and listening to the astrology podcast and reading books and attending conferences online and trying to understand this tradition that had completely captured my attention. And looking back, I don't think I realized how unusual that combination was, that astrology and gemstones were both just as part of my life equally, coming up. And then in 2020, I attended a lecture by Austin Coppock. Shout out to Austin, he's my teacher. His lecture was called The Celestial Lapidary. And there was an observation from him in that lecture that has never left me. Austin talked about the relationship between astrology and gemstones and how it's largely been lost to time. Not so much entirely speaking, but pieces, like, because some pieces have remained, but much of the deeper astrological reasoning surrounding the gemstone ideas in today's culture has faded into the background. And I remember thinking that's exactly what I had been sort of missing. And there's just the idea that most people know their birthstone and a lot of people know their zodiac sign, but very few people know why astrologers have spent centuries associating planets with stones in the first place. And this observation just arrived exactly at the right moment for me because I was already so deeply entrenched in both subjects. But this framework of bringing them together and reconnecting them, it was like an invitation to my life's work and everything moving forward. Um, it's been 6 Norwex, and here I am. Because that was a Norwalk lecture in 2020 by him, and we just wrapped up Norwalk 2026, just 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I mean that's really where all this sort of began in a way that I can remember it, um, becoming just like so um uh formed and manifest in my brain. I was like, this is my life's work. I'm going to continue on the bringing together and reconnecting the relationship between stars and stones. Like, thanks, Austin. I have heard you loud and clear, received your invitation, and I'm here for it. um, so yeah, ever since I've been studying, more history, surrounding, the traditional sources and just like the ways gemstones were worked with from like with or how ancient astrologers worked with the gemstones and wrote about them, because this art form is so old. It actually is like when we first found books like when humans found books, source texts, stones were being written about and like connections to stones and planets were happening. It's such an old ancient practice. um it's so freaking cool. the astrologers, philosophers, and magicians who have preserved these ideas. And what, you know, really surprised me wasn't just so much of the material existed for so long. It was how old it really was. People have been writing about these things for over 2,000 years. Um, Vedic astrology is the oldest type of astrology in the world, and this skill set is the most alive and well in that form of astrology. I honestly think that's what fascinates me the most about astrology is that the planets aren't just symbols, they are the organizing principles of this overarching thing called life. And they're part of this framework that holds the entire tradition together. And what eventually led me to develop a lecture on planetary gemstone correspondences for the United Astrology Conference coming up here in September 2026. But more importantly, it's what led me here. And there are so many ideas that I want to explore the history behind astrology, planetary gemstones, traditional remediation, ancient sources, correspondences, and the way the way earlier astrologers understood the world and the way that some of those ideas continue to survive. It's something that is so kind of intertwined in every day still that we don't even notice, and I think it's so fascinating. And so that's what this channel is really going to be, a place to be, is to a place to explore those ideas and talk about them. And some will probably be just things that fascinate me in the moment, but some of them are going to be the long held, obsessions of mine, such as planetary gemstones, but not limited to. So yeah, I am excited to be fascinated with you, and I hope you guys can learn a little bit of something along the way, um, and have it be very helpful because I have a lot of Virgo in my chart, and so I am always trying to be as helpful as possible and give information that I hope can help in everyday life. So I'm excited and thank you for joining in on this. I have some new videos coming up soon, so I will see you again.